Welcome to the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show. I'm Jane Johnston, realtor here in Victoria, and this is a show where we cut through the noise and talk about what's actually happening in our local market.
I'm Andrew Plank, also a Victoria realtor. We'll talk stats, timing, neighborhoods, and what we're seeing behind the scenes.
And I'm Jen Lowe, mortgage broker. I'm the numbers person of the group, and I'll chime in with the mortgage side.
Each week, we break down what the market means for you.
All focused right here on Greater Victoria.
No hype, no pressure, just honest conversations, local insight, and practical advice.
Let's get into it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's May 19th, and we're here with the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group, and I am here with...
Hey, everybody. Andrew Plank. I'm with the Vibe Collective at Royal LePage. Wonderful to be here again. Vibing, yes.
And Jen Lowe, mortgage broker with Dominion Lending Center's Modern Mortgage Group. Good to see you.
Yeah.
How's everyone's week going?
Good. Lots on the go. Lots of moving parts. You know, accepted offers, no offers, showings, listings, prepping for listings. You know, the usual.
It's a good
great
life.
Weather. On Saturday, there was some crazy hail. Did you guys experience that?
No. I was at the Highland Games on Saturday, and I know it was calling for thunderstorms, and we got a pretty interesting downpour, and the weather just changed rapidly. There were some really neat cloud formations, but no, we missed out on the hail. You got lucky.
Oh. Yes, it was pretty wild at the Q. I was at the Q Center at La Crosse, and it sounded as if like a pipe burst. It was so loud, and the hail was incredible. Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Wow.
I love hail.
Well, I've been traveling through the Highlands of Scotland. If you want, I can do the whole podcast with a Scottish accent.
You're going to do the whole podcast. Yeah, you should. Go for it, Jane.
Okay. Well, let's get into it, shall we? We're going to start, first of all, I was told by my tour guide not to speak with a Scottish accent because I have a Canadian one over
You got a Canadian Scottish accent, do you? Oh, my God.
I'm not even going to try.
Don't even try. No. No point.
Okay. So, Jen, what the heck is going on?
Well, what do we have going on here in our mortgage world? Definitely, there's been some headlines with regards to the Canada's massive mortgage renewal wave has officially peaked after record renewal volumes in 2025. Reaching out to or hearing from Canadian Mortgage Housing Corp, they projected renewal activity will ease by roughly 13% throughout the rest of 2026 as fewer pandemic era mortgages are coming due. So the peak of mortgage renewals has ended.
Do you think that'll mean that people will move towards more of a permanent rate, or do you think they'll go for variable? Because I think there'll be a little bit of pressure on the banks to create more business.
Stimulate the economy. Yes. We're seeing, and personally I'm seeing it, that borrower behavior is shifting towards focus being variable rate mortgages are definitely increasing in popularity. Shorter term mortgages are also in demand as Canadians, and here in Victoria as well, we're prioritizing flexibility and waiting for clear direction on where interest rates are going to go.
Yeah, because they've no, that's not working, is it? I remember.
Nice try.
No. Sometimes it's a false start. You have to kind of roll into it and then you get going. So, Jen, you mentioned past the peak, they're expecting a 13% drop, and from the peak, and then in stages over the next couple of years, are we seeing further drops, like from when do we get back to normal? Is it just a 1 year thing and 13% is it? Or
Well, with
what?
regards to the renewal numbers that we're seeing, like from 2025 to 2026, if you go back 5 years ago, that's where the market was the crazy multiple offers. People were paying significantly above the asking price on purchasing properties. And those are the mortgages that have been coming up for renewal.
Coming back again, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, to sort of combine both of these, is that I have had some conversation with people just advising them that the value of their house might not be what they paid when they paid for it. They weren't necessarily always working with me. So,
even if they were, Jane, I mean, even if they were, if they bought during that peak, even if they were with you and they bought during that peak, they're not going to realize what they could today. We all worked with folks in that peak where people bought at a higher price point than they could sell for today.
Yeah. I feel like, especially condos, but single family homes are, in some cases, it depends on the single family home. It depends on the location, I find. But yeah. So
it is a bit of a double whammy. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Dave.
Right.
If clients put the minimum down payment 5 years ago and they're now coming into higher interest rates, refinancing becomes a challenge if we don't have that value in their property. So that's been a bit of a challenge to work with in creating solutions for some clients.
Because generally the original lender will lend to them usually, but if they want to shop around, they're out of options. If they were already on the edge, they're not going to qualify today.
For a straight renewal, there should be no issues at all, whether you want to stay with your current lender or transfer to a new lender. It's if you've perhaps accumulated some debts or you're wanting to make any changes to that mortgage, that's where requalifications is required, as well as the value of the property comes into play.
Right. Are they requiring an appraisal on renewals?
No.
Okay.
Not on a straight renewal.
And on a straight renewal, are you finding they're giving good rates or are they giving awful rates? Because I've found in the past when, we've had the choice between a straight renewal and refinancing, the straight renewal is just not a good decision.
I feel like I say this all the time. It totally depends, because it depends on how much your original down payment was, what bucket you are in with that lender, as far as if you're in an uninsured bucket versus an insured bucket. And I can definitely dive into that more if you'd like. But yeah, if you're in an uninsured bucket, but we can move you into an insurable bucket with another lender, quite often that makes sense to do. And lenders, it's been interesting talking about the big blue bank recently. They've been extremely aggressive interest rate wise over the last 6 months or so. From my understanding, that's really coming to an end, which I'm not going to complain about. But it's challenging because basically the banks, they've got their, goal and the amount of money they want to fill as far as lending and mortgages. Once they reach that, okay, we're done. And they're no longer as competitive in the market. So it does really depend on timing, when your mortgage is up for renewal, who that lender is, for whether or not it makes sense to renew with your existing lender. I mean, it always makes sense to reach out to a mortgage broker and ask. The first thing I'm going to do is say, okay, you want to go to your bank and find out what their best rates on renewal are.
What's the best time of year to renew then? Is it the spring market, or is it like when they're trying to get their numbers up, or is it end of the year when they're trying to finish their calendar year?
Off the cuff, I'd say early spring, because a lot of lenders offer incentives with transferring, getting new mortgages, cash bonuses, that kind of thing. So there's an opportunity to take advantage of those kinds of incentives, which are usually in the springtime to promote the spring market.
Interesting.
You mentioned that a lot of people are getting shorter term mortgages to try to give them a little more flexibility. I guess assuming that rather than lock in for a full 5 years, they're going to bet or gamble that the market will be better, the mortgage rate market will be better in whatever it is, 6 months, a year, 2 years. And so they'll pay a bit of a higher interest rate now for the option for a lower interest rate in future.
Correct.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you have your mortgage coming up, like mine's coming up within the next year now, at what point would you say, because, you know, there's always the mortgage penalty as well that you, for breaking a mortgage early, but as you get closer to that breaking the mortgage, I suppose that penalty goes down. At what point does it kind of make the most sense to start talking to your lender?
Broker.
Prior to?
Yep. I would say we want to secure something. At least 120 days is when we can secure a rate before your maturity date. So we want to kind of get the ball rolling, call it 5 months before to get the documents, that kind of thing. And then so that we're able to secure that rate at the 4-month mark.
Yeah.
What I like to say is that way it gives you your guarantee of knowing exactly what your worst case scenario is. This is the rate that you're going to get. Advantage of working with a broker is that I'm continuing to watch up until your maturity date. If rates drop, those are my favorite emails to send my clients is I've got your rate lowered, but we can't go the other way around.
But you also may be required at that point to start submitting more documents again. So like pay stubs and all that.
Oh yeah. If we're doing that, if we're looking to switch to a different lender, 100%, I do have to get more documents as opposed to just signing on the dotted line and doing a renewal with your existing lender. Yeah,
which is really why important.
I always start the conversation with, let's check with your existing lender first and see if they're in the ball game. If they're in the ball game, you know what? It saves time and effort for everybody. Just sign on the dotted line. But if they're not in the ball game, okay, too bad for you. Let's move your mortgage elsewhere. But yeah,
kind of like when you've got your TELUS mobility account and it comes up for renewal for your contract, and suddenly it's going to bounce out to a much higher rate. And then they say, well, we're not going to give you a better rate. So you say, well, okay, I'm going to go over to Rogers then. And then, oh, but wait, now we can help you. But only if you actually threaten to leave. It's kind of funny that way and unfortunate, I think.
Yeah.
But, it's a game. It's a game that I've been playing for 14 years. And it's just part of the process.
Right. Everybody wants to get as much of your money as possible, and they're going to line it up so it's in their favor. And so you need someone like Jen to help you navigate that.
You got it.
Okay. So let's get to the stats.
Let's get to
kiddos.
Stats.
Pardon?
Yeah, let's get to stats, the exciting stuff.
All righty. Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay. And you've lost your accent, right? So, what do we got here? 392 new listings in the last week versus 445 the week before, which is in this last week we did have a long weekend, so we do expect it to be a little slower.
I will say that earlier in the day we were around 360 something, so we have gone up. So
these numbers are changing hourly for sure.
Yeah.
It's a rolling 7-day number. But yeah, Jane noticed that we did that earlier today and then it's already gone up a lot. So, okay. And then we've got number of pendings, 150 went pending in the last week versus 176 the week before. Again, long weekend, not surprising. 159 price decreases versus 157 the week before. That's pretty much on par. 66 properties expired versus 52 the week before.
And I will say, I think that the pendings will go up this week because a lot of people won't have subject removal the day after a long weekend. It's just not good business.
Yep. No, you would have wanted the week to do your investigations and let the bank have more time to get you an answer that you want and so forth. So that's generally more towards the end of the week you get your subject removals, not beginning.
Yes.
Our list to sell ratios week over week. Sorry, Jen?
I was just going to say, if you had a financing condition date on Friday before a long weekend, that's not always the best thing either, as people like to take off early. And I know a colleague was struggling she had 2 subject removals on Friday and trying to get updates at 4:30 from a lender. She was very stressed.
Friday afternoons are never a great time for getting attention of lawyers and mortgage brokers or bankers. And, I think we realtors are pretty good about that, but, depends on who you ask and what they've got planned. If they have a tee off at the golf course with the banker and the lawyer.
Here's a top tip for you folks is make sure that you have your subject removals and your moving dates Tuesdays to Thursdays. That's just golden rule.
It's good rule. Yeah, good rule of thumb. Okay, so our list to sell ratio, 38.27 this week. Versus 39.55 the week before. So just a little bit down. Jane, you want to take it from here?
Yep. So month to date, oh my goodness. So should say May, 378 so far this month compared to 758 for May of 2025. 965. What does that say? New listings, and that's compared to 1,834. And we have a total 3,863, and that's up from last year by almost 110.
Bumped that. Interesting.
3,717. So actually, I was very happy to see that we weren't exponentially increasing. I thought that that's what might be happening, but it's not.
We're up in our total active listings, and who knows, maybe by the end of this spring market, we might be over 4,000, which would not be good news necessarily to have such high inventory, but it has been increasing.
Right. So the question is, one of the statistics that Andrew and I both pulled up independently today is that there's a net migration, and we're one of the only census conglomerate areas in Canada to have a net migration of people moving to our municipalities. So, and I think it's been over the last 24 years. So it's certainly the net number of population has not been because of growth within our community, because we have a negative growth factor because of our aging population. Was it 2 to 1? Elderly?
We have a much higher population of elderly folks to new members of new Victorians born into the city. So because we get a net migration of people and people wanting to retire here, even our population is an older population, and that population tends to die at a higher rate than some others, than other centers. So Victoria actually has a net negative growth if it wasn't for net migration. And luckily we have more people moving in than moving out.
Right. So we're wondering where people are moving from. Who are we attracting? And obviously it's retirees, because the population of retirees is remaining steady. And they also are saying remote workers. To me, that's people in the construction trade who are relocating here. Often they're from other provinces who are here temporarily. We do have a high rental population as well. So
Yeah,
was it?
we're
60 some odd percent of
it's like
our,
66% or something for rentals. Pull that up here. Currently, so Greater Victoria, actually, sorry, I'm wrong there. Greater Victoria, 38% of Greater Victoria is rental.
rental.
And
Yeah.
60, but that number is trending upward year over year. And 62% of Greater Victoria is owner-owned properties, but that is trending downward. It's home ownership rates are declining, mostly due to pricing out of the younger cohorts.
Right. And so the younger cohorts are moving from the core outward and up island.
Yeah. Now, this was for Greater Victoria, 38% rental, but when you look at the actual rental for the core itself, it's 60% rental in the core. And again, that's trending upward, driven by high density of purpose-built rental buildings. We are seeing a lot more of that. And it's also partly because we have a high benchmark price or higher benchmark price. Well, our benchmark price is down 1.2%, but we still are, higher than we tend to be, higher than a lot of other areas. And that's also causing people to say, I think I'd rather rent than buy at this point.
Well, also the report that we were pulling our information from was saying that a lot of people rent before they buy so that they can come in and research different areas. But historically, I've found, I don't know if this is the same for you, Andrew, but people tend to move to an area as a rental and then they really like it. And when I first started my podcast, Vancouver Island Time in 2017, everybody loved their area.
It's just like everyone loves their house that they've lived in for the last 20 years, and they find all the reasons why it is more valuable, more beneficial than the house next door or down the street or around the corner, simply because they've lived in it. They know its value and it's got higher value to them. It's called something bias. I forget the name of the bias, but there's a bias that this is true of. And it's true too. You move into a neighborhood and you start to see all the wonderful elements of it, whether that's Esquimalt or View Royal or Langford or what have you. I don't know. I've lived in a lot of different neighborhoods, and I think each of them have their benefits. Jen?
Going back to the stat, we were the only one with a positive growth in the last 24 years in Canada here. I find it interesting from a weather, and I always go back to the weather. Quite often we are so different. Our weather is just so much different than the rest of Canada in our winters. I mean, it's such a joke. People laugh, right? I mean, our flowers are blooming and it'll be snowing, blizzard in Alberta or what have you.
You're not a realtor if you haven't done a social media post in the middle of winter showing the cherry blossoms on the trees and talking about how wonderful it is in this balmy weather. It's a requirement.
Yes, that makes sense. Right.
Yeah. I will say that people from Victoria, especially people who just moved to Victoria, really like rubbing it in their friends' noses that the weather is nice in January and February. And admittedly, we had a very wet winter and spring this year. And I do have potential clients who are going to move here. And they were renting for a week in early May, and it rained the whole week. And I just thought, they're not going to choose to live here. That's okay.
We really do not. We have great weather. It's not always cold. It's not always snowing, but we do get a lot of wet and we do get a lot of dark. But people, I think, are willing to overcome that for the rest of it. I'm just surprised. I guess people choose to come to Victoria and to the West Coast over other areas because they have chosen to make the choice that they're only going to move from within Canada for an improvement in their weather. Because you can certainly move up to other places in the world and improve your weather scenario to a much higher degree.
Well, they want the health care, and Americans also want the health care. Senior Americans are moving back. Senior expat
Expats.
Canadians and their partners want to move to Canada because they want the healthcare and they want to find a place that's safe, and they also want a place that's reasonable to live. And relatively speaking, we're still reasonable price wise. Yeah. The other thing is outdoor living, right? Like the fact that we can go out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 360 days a week here.
Yeah.
So
and the ocean is a wonderful thing too.
Ocean sports and community and recreation for sure. Yeah.
So just because I have spent the last week in Scotland and I'm coming back, I will say today I noticed people walking around in down coats. It's May, folks. So relatively speaking, we have a really great lifestyle here, I think, in Victoria.
Yeah.
There is a net migration of people moving like between Alberta and BC. There are more people right now moving to Alberta. And I think that's what we were talking about in terms of costs. I do know people, one person sold their condo in Bear Mountain and bought 2 houses and is renting one out in Edmonton. So
I've helped clients sell from Greater Victoria and move to Alberta as well to improve their quality of their home. So they got more home. They moved from a strata property to a freehold property, and presumably their job prospects are as good or better there. And a lot of people are working from home these days. So being just here isn't necessarily a requirement. So they can go somewhere where their living costs are lower. They get more home, but maybe they do have to, sacrifice a little bit of weather or the West Coast, for example. But yeah.
I would say the 2 reasons why people move out of Victoria, one is affordability, exactly what you were saying, Andrew, but the second one is family. People are often moving out to be with their kids.
Absolutely. I've seen that many times. Selling out of here, moving to Ottawa, moving to Vancouver. They've got family. They want to be near the grandkids or their children. And it just makes sense for them to go back there at that time in their lives. So, yeah, for sure.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
We've been talking about buying and renting, and it's interesting, and this is maybe a little off topic, but I have some listings on Facebook Marketplace for my properties that are for sale, my properties I'm representing. And I just got a message, we get these various messages from people, and I got a message that says, laugh out loud, it isn't buying if you're still paying fees and they restrict your pets. If I own my home, I expect to make the rules. This is obviously for a strata property. And I thought that was interesting to receive this, because I think, obviously if you're renting, you don't make the rules. If you're buying, even if you're buying single family home, there's still rules that you need to follow. But there's I don't know how. I guess the question is, I'm not going to respond to this, but it's an interesting question where people think that because they're buying a home, they should actually have rights within that home at the expense of other people's rights.
Well, thank you for introducing that at the end of the show, but just a thought, even if you move into a place like Oak Bay, you're only allowed 3 dogs, or if you move into places like Dean Park, you can not park your RV out front. If you move into a place like Broadmead, you can't have a suite. So that person is operating under a false concept.
That's what I'm noticing, is they're operating under a false concept. And it is hard if you don't have the more money you have, the more options you have, and the less rules you may have to follow. And this comes from a point of perhaps scarcity where they're saying this, but they're also saying, you know, if I'm going to spend money, I want to be able to make my own rules. And I just thought it was an interesting perspective. And again, I'm not going to respond to it, but I think what people need to understand if they're buying or renting is you will always be under a mantle of some sort of rule when you're living in society. And, you know, it may be that, you know, about pets, or it might be about, you know, you're paying fees one way or another as well. You own a house, you're putting money aside for a new roof, property taxes, you know, your upkeep, strata fees just are a pooled resource for that. So I'm not going to spend the time to educate this person, but this is a bit of a PSA at the end of our show.
Well,
just
also
keep that
I've
in mind.
seen posts where people are saying they don't want to pay taxes because they own the home. And I'm like, listen, you need services to your lot. You have a road to your driveway. You have community. We are moving away, especially I find in the US right now, they're moving away from the concept of community to more individuality, but really we all have to live together.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's more efficient if we do. At the same time, we want to make sure that, you know, you do have some say in the rules. If you're a strata owner, for example, you can buy into a place and then have some input in the steering of how that strata does its finances and where they make their rules, but still have to play nice with others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's all.
Okay. Take us out of here.
Okay. So thanks so much, guys, for your time today. We are the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show, made up of Andrew Plank and Jane Johnston and Jen Lowe. And we would really appreciate your feedback. So if you are liking the show, please do give us a like. Please do subscribe. Please comment and please share. We love to get your comments and we would love your ideas for future shows. So there you go. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm Andrew Plank. I'm with the Vibe Collective at Royal LePage. My slogan is Modern Tools, Old-Fashioned Service, and I'm available to assist you if you wish to give me a call. I'm at 250-360-6106, and you can email info@andrewplank.com. And Jane is putting on her glasses so she can read.
Jen?
I am Jen Lowe, mortgage broker with Modern Mortgage Group through Dominion Lending Centers. My cell number 250-217-4925. Email jen@jenlowe.ca, and my website is jenlowe.ca.
I was taking a picture with my glasses.
I actually thought that might be the case. Thank you. Because you
I
do know
don't
your own
use
phone
them.
number, right?
Yes, you can reach me at 250-744-0775. You can email me, jane@briarhillgroup.com, and you can visit our website at briarhillgroup.com. And if you want to find out what's happening in Victoria and Victoria lifestyle, visit realtyteacher_remax_Victoria. Alrighty. So we are every Tuesday, she says with a bad Scottish accent. Please come on out and cheerio. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us on the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show.
We're here weekly, bringing you up-to-date insights on the Greater Victoria real estate market.
Make sure to follow and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll never miss an update.
We'll be back next week with more clarity around what's happening and what it means for you.